The long-awaited report into a ship fire off Cleveland, it doesn't answer a thing, say protesters. A market town is closed down in a dynamite alert. Was it an honest mistake? Traffic police bring in a video nasty in the latest battle against bad drivers.
Hello and welcome to this, our very last ever Northern Life. I wonder how many of you remember this title music, first broadcast in September 1976. Well, we've a surprise for you later.
But first, there's been an angry reaction after the publication of a government report into the sinking of a Swedish cargo ship off the coast of Cleveland last year. 40 tons of explosive chemicals were on board, but firemen tackling the blaze didn't learn of the danger until later. The report blames human error in Sweden, but itself criticised for not insisting the regulations are tightened up.
It was dawn on November the 5th last year when the crew on the 9,500-ton cargo ship, the SK Link 1, realised they had a fire in the cargo of forest products. On board were 2 unmarked containers. Hours later, the 15 crew members were lifted off and Cleveland firemen put on board, unaware the containers had 40 tons of sodium chlorate inside, which explodes when it comes into contact with water. As fire tenders sprayed the stricken vessel a few miles off Skinnin Grove, the ship's officers were admitting they had no idea what was in the containers. A call to the shippers in Sweden brought the chilling news: the ship was effectively a time bomb. 5 days later, it exploded and sank. The release of the Department of Transport report into the crisis today concludes the regulations governing the transport of dangerous goods were broken in Sweden. But it's fueled the County Council's anger over our own government's inaction.
The report doesn't go so far as to making any kind of safety recommendations, and that's really something that I was hoping to see out of it. The fact that it was a human error strongly suggests that it's something which can happen again. Therefore, it has to be addressed very, very seriously.
The DOT had 2 days ago banned the report's publication, but it backed down in the face of pressure from Cleveland County Hall.
The problem is the attitude and policy affecting government departments and the release of information. I think it's absolutely outrageous.
And until the rules are made watertight, the Fire Brigades Union is instructing its members to refuse to tackle fires on ships.
The bomb disposal squad was called to a Cleveland charity shop today after sticks labelled Dynamite were found in a bundle of clothes. The road was closed and shops evacuated, but it turned out to be a false alarm. The sticks weren't real dynamite, but theatrical props. Police don't think it was a deliberate hoax, but an innocent mistake.
3 sticks tied together with dynamite written on the side and wires sticking out the end were found by charity workers sorting clothes first handed in about 4 days ago. The bundle was in a carrier bag being handled in an upstairs room above a shop in Gisborough's main street. The police decided to leave it where it was, near the back of the premises and about 100 feet from the main road, and wait for a bomb disposal team to arrive from Catterick Garrison. They quickly established it was theatrical dynamite, probably made in the Far East. The scare had lasted 2 hours. Police said it looked like the real thing.
Very realistic indeed, yes. We believe that it's just an innocent bric-a-brac that's put in with an amount of clothing that's arrived at the charity shop, and people just leave property at the front of the shop or at the back of the shop on a daily basis. The staff just pick it up as and when they open the shop.
There's no way of tracing it back?
None whatsoever.
A roundup of the region's news headlines now, and Norman Laws, the 79-year-old poll tax rebel, has been released from prison after serving his second 2-month jail sentence for non-payment. Mr. Laws from South Shields said he would continue to refuse to pay and was prepared to go to jail for a 3rd time.
The death of a man who fell from cliffs at Roker in Sunderland is not being treated as suspicious. The body of a man in his 30s was discovered beneath the old Coast Guard station. He's not yet been named.
Firemen have been fighting a major blaze at the former Tojo's nightclub in Stanley. The 3rd and 4th floors were severely damaged, and at one stage firemen wearing breathing apparatus had to quit the building for fear of collapse.
Big Geordie, once the largest dragline excavator in Europe and a familiar sight in Northumberland for a quarter of a century, is no longer wanted in the county. The 3,000-ton machine has worked open-cast coal sites, but now its work is finished and it's up for sale. The problem lies in where the owners have stored it while they're waiting for a buyer.
In its heyday, Big Geordie worked on the radar and sister site before moving to nearby Butterwell, where it has operated for the last 15 years. Now, Big Geordie stands on the edge of the Butterwell site, awaiting a buyer. But county planners say 9 months is long enough in this position. They want the big fella moved.
Big Geordie is very visible from miles around. He's sitting in a very prominent position, and because coaling operations finished last December at Butterwell, the County Council's view is that it's the end of the day for Big Geordie as far as this site is concerned, and he should be moved elsewhere.
How do they stand on planning permission with, after all, what is a mobile machine?
Yes, well, we're under discussion with British Coal on this very aspect, and it's a question of how you interpret the actual planning legislation. In our view, with coaling finished at Butterwell, we are within our rights to request that Big Geordie be moved to elsewhere and a much less visible location.
A spokesman for the owners said that several people have looked at the machine, but so far there have been no firm offers.
Berwick MP Alan Beath will lead a delegation of parents to meet Education Minister Eric Forth as part of a campaign to save an accommodation hostel. The hostel is used by children who live on Holy Island and who occasionally can't return home because of the tide. Northumberland County Council wants to close the hostel in Berwick to save £50,000.
Cleveland Police have unveiled their latest weapon in the fight against bad drivers. They're putting an unmarked car on the road equipped with a state-of-the-art video camera. Officers will record the behaviour of drivers and use the videoed examples to show motorists the right road to better driving.
So far this year, there have been 17 road accident deaths in Cleveland. The police are hoping their newest acquisition will help cut that statistic. Re-education is the name of the game, and they say they're out to help people, not persecute them. They stress this isn't the eye of Big Brother.
People may say that, but in a marked patrol car, when you're patrolling the roads, the traffic tends to be calmed by the presence of that patrol car. In this vehicle, people continue to drive in the same manner as they were before they actually come into our view.
Police will play back the tape at the roadside, giving drivers a clear picture of what they did wrong. Although the tapes could be used as evidence against offenders, the main aim is prevention, not prosecution.
As you can see today in front of us now, this is a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit, the spray from the vehicle in front, yet vehicles still continue to go past in the outside lane. And the purpose of this vehicle is to try to re-educate them and say to them that that was too quick or too fast for the actual conditions of the road.
The police asked us not to film the exterior of the car. If their initiative is to work, the vehicle must mingle unnoticed with the traffic. The camera equipment and speed detector cost £5,000, and they'll be out on the roads of Cleveland from Monday morning.
The story of a Bishop Auckland factory worker who turned to crime and murdered a policeman is the subject of a Tyne film tonight. Wallpaper Warrior is a dramatised account of the murder of Jim Porter in 1982.
The filmmakers say it's not a reconstruction of the crime, but they've angered some critics who say real-life tragedy is being used just to thrill viewers.
Eddie Horner saw himself as a modern-day Robin Hood, but to the public he was the ruthless killer of a policeman. Wallpaper Warrior is a story of Horner's grievance over an industrial dispute which escalated from picket line duty to murder. He was sacked from his job at the Chamberlain Phipps wallpaper factory in Bishop Auckland after a strike over a claimed pay cut. Horner then planned a revolutionary workers' army with a friend and turned to crime to raise funds.
Hand over the money.
Do you want the small change as well?
I said hand you over the money!
The plans ended in the death of policeman and father of two, Jim Porter, after an armed raid at the wallpaper factory. Even before transmission, the film has had its critics. They see it as part of a trend of drama documentaries which they say exploit human tragedy in the name of entertainment. But the filmmakers say Wallpaper Warrior has a serious purpose.
I think it's very important to find out why things happen. And I think particularly these days it's so easy to open a paper and you think, why on earth did that happen? The world's going mad. And I think it's very important for us as programme makers. I think we have a responsibility to tell people why things occur.
The film has been made without the cooperation of the widow of the policeman who died. Tyne agreed not to approach the family after consulting Durham police. But members of the production team did speak to Eddie Horner in Frankland Prison.
Well, for the first time, we've talked to the two people who were centrally involved in the killing of D.C. Porter, Eddie Horner and Paul Standen. And I think being able to spend several hours with both of those men, one of them in Frankland jail and the other who we tracked down to a monastery in the south of England, threw a lot of new light on the motivation behind the crime.
Eddie Horner was a man with no previous convictions who was jailed for life for murdering a policeman. The makers of Wallpaper Warrior say the film sets out to explain why.
And Wallpaper Warrior, tonight's crime story, can be seen on Tyne Tees at 9 o'clock. That's tonight.
And now the last Northern Life Sports Roundup. What can I say? The end of an era.
I'm glad you said it. Kevin Keegan is tonight the red-hot favourite to become the first Newcastle boss in history to win the National Manager of the Month award. Barclays will make an announcement first thing tomorrow morning. Keegan was staying tight-lipped about the possibility as he put United through their paces in Durham today. He's being tipped to win the first Division 1 award as well as the national title. The 16-man squad flies down to London tomorrow to prepare for their live TV debut against Brentford on Sunday.
I think the chairman, the board and myself and the players have got a tremendous responsibility to the area, and at the moment, for the first time in a long while, we're worthy of them.
The region's top match tomorrow has to be Middlesbrough against Manchester United at Ayresome Park. A Wembley place was at stake when they last met. A Ryan Giggs goal separated the sides. Keeper Stephen Pears is back, but only on the bench tomorrow. Sunderland's Peter Davenport makes his first league start of the season against Millwall. He scored when they last met at Roker. A repeat of the 6-2 scoreline that day would do Malcolm Crosby the power of good. There are two games tonight. Hartlepool could go second in the second division if they beat Blackpool at the Victoria Ground. Darlington play Torquay in their second Friday night fixture in a row. There's a doubt over on-loan striker Ian Juriev. Tomorrow Scarborough go to Bury and top of the table York City play Doncaster. City's manager John Ward has to change his starting 11 for the first time this season because Ray Warburton has a virus. Racing now, and Malotti, who romped home in his last race at Doncaster 3 weeks ago, is the clear favourite for tomorrow's William Hill Cambridgeshire at Newmarket. The gelding trained at Saltburn won the big race last year and is attempting to become only the 6th horse in history to win it twice. Now Moskrop's a bit under the weather today, but the great man has still come up with his banker, which is number 1 Montpellier Lad, which goes in the 5:10 at Kelso tomorrow, and his money spinner, number 16 Scales of Justice, which goes in the Cambridgeshire. According to Moskrop, it's an each-way value bet.
Thank you, Duncan. The weather now. And I've got a little present for you, Bob, is that you will be with us on Monday, of course, with your regular updated service, but something to sum up the last few weeks of the weather for you, especially today.
Well, I might not be here. I'm going down to Stockton-under-Tees tonight. There's some water falling out of the sky.
There is, isn't there?
Yeah, and there's still a lot to come.
That's the last show, isn't
it? At least the ducks are smiling. The anglers are quite happy. Now, the farmers, they're not happy because they can't get the tatties up there at the ground, you know. So you can't please all of the people all of the time, as somebody once said. A lot of rain to come, but don't worry too much. The weekend isn't written off quite yet. I think inshore waters tomorrow, you'll see it brightening up in the afternoon, but an easterly breeze there, that's not good for the underwater divers because it's mucking up the water there. If you're going onto the hills, you're going to have to wait till the afternoon because it's going to be a bit messy up there to start with. A lot of water around, as I say, so if you've got to go out tonight, watch out for that surface water, that surface spray right throughout the region. It's going to rain all night. Very dreich conditions right through the night. The temperatures, they're incidental, 50 Fahrenheit, who cares? Tomorrow morning we're starting dull, but all you people going to the Northumbrian Bird Watching Festival, thank you, Ducky, watch out for those birds. They'll be covered in goose pimples. But come the afternoon, you're going to be dry up there at Druridge Bay, not too bad. On the terraces as well, come the kick-off time, you're all going to be dry. Cold though, as the temperatures are only going to make the mid-50s Fahrenheit. Sunday's another dry day, I think. Again, it's a very raw feel to it, especially out near the coast, where those winds, they're going to be quite fresh. But as I say, apart from just the odd sprinkling of a shower, everywhere dry. So what about the start of next week? Well, frosty, it could be we'll have some frost.
And it's time now for a recap of today's headlines, signed by Julianne Pinchin.
NATO's European commander has formally apologised after 5 people died when a US Navy warship fired missiles at a Turkish destroyer. The Bank of England spent £4.42 billion in its failed attempt to support the pound during last month's sterling crisis. The secret report into the sinking of the SK Link 1 has revealed the crew didn't know what was in the hold of their ship. A 79-year-old poll tax rebel who's been released from his second jail sentence for non-payment says he'll still defy the law.
And in fact, that was the last time we'll be including the headlines for the deaf in our 6 o'clock programme. But don't worry, far from reducing our service to the deaf community, starting a week today, we break new ground here on Tyne Tees.
From Friday, October the 9th, we'll be bringing you a weekly bulletin designed specifically for the deaf, with the news headlines of the week signed by a qualified interpreter and accompanied by news footage and subtitles. It'll be broadcast on Friday lunchtimes, normally at 1:15. Tune in or set the video.
Now, as you know, it's a special night for Northern Life. It's our very last one. For 16 years, we've been bringing you the news and views of the region. We'll keep giving you that service, but from Monday, the programme will have a new look and a new title.
We'll be called Tyne Tees Today, and we'll still be keeping you in touch with everything that happens in the North East and North Yorkshire. But we thought we'd mark our final night as Northern Life with just a few of the images brought to you by the programme since that very first evening in September 1976.
Y'all ready for this?
Not always standing there as moaning minis. Now stop it.
Y'all ready for this?
Well, bye-bye.
Children of the San Giorgio orphanage in Romania. Some amazing pictures there. It's almost time to say good night and goodbye as Northern Life, but I hope you'll join us for the new programme on Monday.
Well, you know, things have gone pretty smoothly tonight, but they don't always, and in fact it's quite interesting when they don't go according to plan. We've compiled some of what we call our favourite bloopers, as they're known in the trade.
Dennis Norton Act's coming up now.
You'll be amazed at some of your favourite presenters and reporters doing things that you don't normally see them doing.
I hope not.
As I got old, I started to move my hips and then my shoulders, and now I'm rocking all over the nation, and that is my new occupation. I tried to get a job but didn't manage, yo, and I can't stand it.
I'm seeing you in a new light all of a sudden.
I thought I'd throw that tape away. I thought I'd hidden that tape from the editor.
I think you should have been a ballet dancer.
A belly dancer, I don't know about that. That's it. That's the end of Northern Life after 16 years. The end of this studio, the end of this crew. See you, lads!
Well, let's go and have a look at the new one then, shall we?
You can't get the stuff. The reason we're not too upset, it's a bit like changing the family car. You know, Northern Life was the old model, the family saloon.
It's got a few dents in it, but we managed to get through, didn't we?
The oddball tyre, yes. Well, the new one is a K-Reg. Tyne Tees Today's studio. It goes up with your jacket, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely marvellous.
Match the jacket. Come on,
lots of little gadgets you can have a look at. You can smell the paint drying. You can smell it.
Here it is.
The brand new Tyne Tees studio. This is Tyne Tees Today's set.
This is our new home from Monday.
Oh, they're nice, isn't it? The lads are still finishing it off.
Which side do you want to sit on then?
Go on, you got the coin.
Heads or tails?
Heads. I'll tell you what, you'll have to watch on Monday to find out. Tyne Tees Today, 6 o'clock on Monday.
See you then.
Off we go. Just a minute, before we finally go, what's that?
That's coming from our old studio.
It's, I recognise that music.
That was the very first theme tune to Northern Light, 16 years ago.
That's the Blade and Races. Larry Adler played it.
It must be. I wonder if he's been there all this time.
It's Larry Adler. Larry Adler, as I live and breathe. How are you, sir?
I wish I could say as I live and breathe.
You haven't been here for 16 years, have you?
Oh, do I look it?
No.
What have you been doing then for the last 16 years?
Well, I've been doing a hell of a lot of things. I've written an autobiography.
Mm-hmm.
I called it It Ain't Necessarily So, because what I was trying to indicate was I don't know a goddamn thing about what I'm writing.
You know what you're playing about, though?
Yes, you do.
That's part of Northeast history, that theme music, the Blade and Races.
Well, you know, I'm an American. I don't have to explain that. But when I first heard the title, I really thought, and I'm not kidding, it was Geordie for Bleeding Races.
Well, you were right, because it's a bleeding good tune.
It's a bleeding good tune, very good tune.
It's travelled the world with you.
Well, yes, it has. Last year I was in Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, this outfit I'm wearing is Tokyo designed by Issey Miyake.
Very nice too.
And my son set it up for me, and Issey Miyake arranged 4 concerts, classical, jazz, television, and he came back after the classical when he said, Larry, You bow like a Japanese, and I really felt flattered.
That's very much a compliment from a Japanese person.
You play like a Geordie. Would you give us some more of that music, please?
Okay.
Larry Adler, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now pay attention, everybody.
A celebration of Bond, this Saturday on ITV, starting at 6:30 with Timothy Dalton in the movie premiere of The Living Daylights. 1 at 8:50.
It's not really a Gladdy. It is, in fact, a special device that's been designed by Q.
Even Dame Edna gets into the spirit of things. And at 9:20, a special tribute to the Bond classics in 30 years of James Bond.
Saturday on ITV.
Starting next this Friday night, we join Bob Holness for another round of the quick-fire quiz Blockbusters. Test your general knowledge after the break. While over on Channel 4, nostalgic American comedy in Happy Days.